If you say, you know what, I just want to list for sale by owner, I want to be a top producer, I want to do luxury, but I've never done that before. If we could understand how do you transform to get to that point? Well, you got to start at zero, right? So you got to start with believing in yourself. The second thing is that your skills have to be at a high level. There's a big thing about having influence, but someone has to feel that you are the right person. So you have to have influence and authority in your voice, how you deliver what you're offering, but also give them enough information that leads them to them feeling like they're going to go with you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Vulcan 7 Coaches and Mentors, where we bring you some of the best in the industry to share with you their tips and strategies so that you can implement in your business immediately. Now, obviously, we know that there have been a lot of changes in the market with the way that you do real estate business and transactions. So on today's episode, we have a very special guest. He is no stranger to this show. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on, Bill Crespo. Welcome, Bill.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing great. You know, right before we started and press record, we were chatting a little bit about, skills, the market. So before we get into that, for anyone that's watching that maybe is not too familiar with you, just go ahead and give us a little bit about your background.
Wow, I've been coaching for over 20 years, had over 25,000 coaching sessions, was originally a Mike Ferry coach, was with MAPS Coaching, and did my own thing, Path to Pro for the longest time. I had two daughters in gymnastics that really gave me an insight on transformation, and, they were, major athletes, and got really involved with how do you change your mindset, how do you change your skills, how do you get things done quickly so that you get the performance levels that you need to get into as quickly as possible. So that's where I'm at. So I've been in sales for over 40 years, franchise sales, have my own company in real estate, top producer, that whole 9 yards. So I haven't washed floors yet in real estate offices, and I haven't done windows. It's probably the only thing I haven't done.
No. But obviously you have a lot of experience. You have seen changes, in all of the years you've been in this business. So as of recently, what are you seeing? Because you mentioned also to me earlier, you're back in the business doing transactions. So kind of like, what is your take now versus maybe like 1 or 2 or 10 years ago?
Yeah, been through several recessions, been in the business since 1985. So I'm old, and I've seen a lot of stuff. And what's happening right now, I think more than ever, is this change of skill. We talk about high ticket sales and low ticket sales. This is a high ticket sales process, but I think a lot of people were panicking. They should, for one reason, is their skills have to go to a whole, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say if you were a 5 and a 6, you got to be at a 10 or 11 or a 12 now to be able to separate yourself. So someone could actually say, oh, that's why I'm picking this person. And I know we always talked about the agent being the product. And, being that I'm out in the field a bit more, because I knew this was my market. This is the type of market that I've been whining for the longest time. And not that we always want a down market, but because the skill levels need to be so high, and I trained it for so long, that I feel now there's specific things that someone has to learn to be able to be effective to either get a buyer agreement signed or flip a for sale owner or an expired or anybody to sign for them so that you can outpace the competition.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about this because this is, something that a lot of agents might be struggling with at the moment. We saw the changes coming, the contracts, forms, things like that, the conversations, the communication, and it goes back to, the skills. So for someone that's watching this, like where would they need to start if they want to get their skills to be at a level to be like yourself?
So interesting. I'm in Virginia Beach, where there's a lot of Navy SEALs, right? The odd number Navy SEALs are on the West Coast. The even number SEAL teams are on the East Coast. And I did a little study with them to understand how do they take these guys and transform them into this incredible athlete. And I've said this for years, and I was able to be friends with them. I've actually trained with them. And number one is that we've got to understand that what's up here is what's guiding us, right? The mind, what we think about, or how we think about ourselves. We're going to have some bad times, we're going to have some good times, but do you believe enough in yourself? And then if you believe in yourself, are your skills at the highest level? I met a guy years ago who was afraid of heights, claustrophobic, little short guy. And I asked the guy, he's an engineer, and I said, what were you doing before this? He says, I was a Navy SEAL. And that's what really, how do they transform that person's mind? Like if you say, you know what, I just want to list for sale by owner. I want to be a top producer. I want to do luxury, but I've never done that before. If we could understand, how do you transform to get to that point? Well, you got to start at zero, right? So you got to start with believing in yourself. The second thing is that your skills have to be at a high level. So what I teach is understanding the 4 personality styles, right? Knowing yours first, because you typically don't get along with 2 of those styles, or let's just say it's difficult to have communication with those 2 styles. Hopefully you're not married or have a boyfriend, girlfriend of that other style, because that could be a major problem. But that's another interview that we can go to later. But what happens is that we never adjust, and we're not picking up the verbal cues or body language cues to be able to adjust. Now, this is high level selling. Okay. Years ago when I sold franchises, my manager, this is like I was in my mid-20s, would ask us to monitor the behavior of the doctors, because at that time I was selling dental franchises, and write down the body language when he mentioned something about this investment they were going to make. And that's where I started learning this. And then when I started really coaching and understanding behavior science, I go, oh, this is going to be very valuable. And right now, you need to know the 4 styles. You need to know what yours is and what personality gives you the most difficulty in presenting, because you have to close all 4 styles. There's one style that you cannot push and you cannot close hard. One style. Everybody else is lying to you when they say I need to think it over. One needs to think it over. And so if you know that, you're not going to push. I think years ago, I met a top producer who did a lot of his business door knocking. He wasn't one of my clients. He was another coach's clients. And he said, I know when to pull back and I know when to close. So he's always regulating. I see so many agents always doing the same thing in the same style. Once you know how to regulate your presentation and still close effectively, is how you're going to be able to do that much quicker in this type of market. Because now you got to get a buyer to sign an agreement. And there's going to be some personality that you're going to get along with, not get along with. But since you have bills and you need more money, you're going to have to close everybody. And then you have your FISBOs and expires that say, I don't need you. They need you. And they need you more now than ever. So there's always a controversy with my style versus some of the other coaches that want you to close hard. I think the consumer is much more educated. They know exactly a little bit more about selling than sometimes some of the agents do. And they could smell a sale. So you've got to know how to deliver so that you can separate yourself from how they do business. And they go, oh my gosh, I think this lady, this guy is incredible. I feel that they understand me. That's a long answer for a short question.
No, that's awesome. And now that you're, talking to homeowners, setting appointments, going on these listing appointments, are you noticing anything differently from the way that these homeowners are reacting to you or the questions that they're bringing up just based on the changes that have happened recently?
You're hearing this a lot, and I use Vulcan 7, so I can say right now that it's been the best investment. My conversion rate on for sale by owners is about 30% when I go to the house, which is not bad. You can have 10 of them I go to, I get 3. So what I'm hearing though is them saying, I know now I don't have to offer a commission to the other side. So you do have to, number one, gain their respect and have them feel comfortable talking to you so that you could advise them. And I know there's a big thing about having influence, but someone has to feel that you are the right person. So you have to have influence and authority in your voice, how you deliver what you're offering, but also give them enough information that leads them to them feeling like they're going to go with you. In other words, we tend to want to close them and force them. There's a coach I had many, many years ago. At the time, was a mentor. They didn't call them coaches, and he said, "Use the paintbrush theory." I go, "What is the paintbrush theory?" Well, the paintbrush theory is allowing the person that you're speaking to or trying to close, let them paint the picture of what they would like to see, and you become the picture. So, in other words, I would go, instead of saying, "Hey, Bob, can you just tell me what would be the ideal situation for you and your family," versus telling, guiding. It's almost like giving them the paintbrush and having them paint, but you still take their hand and try to draw this picture that you're assuming. That's probably the easiest way of explaining what most real estate people do and most salespeople. They want to create the picture themselves. It's so easy when you just let them tell you. Well, we would like to net this amount of money and we would like to be closed in 30 days. Great. Is there anything else? No, that's about it. And so now you've got some intel, but patience, empathy, making sure that you're delivering influence and authority, that takes a whole lot of practice. I've been doing this for a very, very long time, which I could walk into any situation and feel comfortable. I need to coach the people that I coach to be able to walk into any situation and feel like they have authority and they have influence and they can help guide these people to a conclusion, which is working with them, but without forcing them. And some of the same people I know in coaching and training that hard closing. Are you familiar with who I am and what I do and how great I am? And they usually go, no, I don't, and click, So how do you let them come to you? And the same coach, trainer, mentor years ago says, the more you go back, the more they come to you. The more you go that way, the more they run for you. And in this market, to answer your question, you need to know how to lay back so they come to you. The consumer is very educated. They say they don't need you. They still have a lot of questions about what's happening with the market. So if you're able to guide them through, you're going to win a whole lot more than ever right now. But it's all about you being the product and delivering a high-end product.
Absolutely. And I think along with that is, being a great listener, because I see a lot of agents, they don't listen, they don't hear what the person's saying, and then they just talk so much that you talk yourself out of a listing.
It's you're absolutely right. And listen, it's a lot has to do with knowing how to relax yourself, because your adrenaline's going, right? All the endorphins are shooting. You're going, I'm gonna get this listing. And so back to my SEAL team friends that I know that are retired, and how do you calm down when you have bullets flying past your head, and how do you really focus on the mission? And I wanted to study that from them. And it's just being well trained in a lot of scenarios and knowing the target. What is the mission? What is the target? And if you know the mission and the target and you're well skilled at your craft, you're going to be able to be relaxed, and you're not going to have what they call, what is it, the diarrhea of the mouth, right? And because you just want to, you get commission breath. People run from you. So you just have to relax and almost sometimes take it away, which is an art in itself, where you're able to say, maybe this is not the right time for us to talk, but understanding where the market is right now is almost critical. You understand that this is the best time. And so they're wondering, well, why did he say this? Mm-hmm. And you tend to walk away. So that takes some skill. And you know that, Loida, that you got to really feel good in your own skin.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question that I wanted to ask you, because we're seeing this in a lot of different markets where obviously now some homes are not flying off the shelf. They're priced, at what market value is, but not a lot of activities happening. Or maybe now price reductions have to happen. Right. How are you, with the agents that you coach, training them, or even the conversations to have with these sellers to let them know, this is the reality now. This is not, 2020, 2021 type of thing.
Yeah, and that's a very good question. A couple of things that I've noticed. When there's a life-changing event going on with this particular client, divorce, medical reasons, financial reasons. They bought another house. There's built-in pressure. You don't have to apply so much pressure. So a couple of things that I think it's controversial for most coaches. Number one is you're going to have to take a property sometimes that are a little bit overpriced because there's already a life-changing event involved in their life that's going to bring pressure into their situation without you having to bring it in. Number one. Number two is I think that we're going to have to take every situation and negotiate on our commissions for their scenario. I think that the day of I don't get my whatever, I am not taking it, is over. Every situation is going to be different. They need a certain amount of money. There's certain things we can do. We don't know what the other side is going to be bringing in. Now, I focus a lot on listings. So, I'm prepared on the listing side with my listings. But price reduction strategies, you got to have one. It's always difficult. And then you have the neighbor across the street who's listed, who just dropped 30 or 40 grand and shocked the heck out of the neighbor across the street, which is my listing, your listing, whatever it may be. So, their house is always nicer than theirs. I understand that. But it's a condition of the marketplace. So if we're able to prep them in the beginning, the market is constantly fluid. Things are changing. Look at the rates. Look at what's going on with the volume of on markets. So we've got to look at your situation, But what I love is when there's a built-in life-changing event, because that's forcing the pressure without me bringing it on. But I have to remind them of that life-changing event and why we have to make a decision now. So back to what you're saying. I mean, you could come up and say, we need a price reduction. It's the delivery of those words to that client in a way that they will accept it in their personality style. That's back to what I just said. You're not going to deliver the same way with everybody, and most agents deliver the same way with everybody. And that's hard to do because I'm walking into a meeting right now and I know she's this way. So I got to be able to talk to her this way. So all that happens. And I do think price reductions are starting to happen. And the last thing I'll say on that is the fact that with rates coming down will mean more competition on the market, which means more fluctuation on pricing. So we've got to look at this thing. It's definitely coming down in pricing, and it's always a tough conversation. I mean, listen, man, I've been doing this for a long time, and can't wait to talk to someone and tell them they're going to have to drop their price by 30 or 40 grand. I mean, it's nerve-wracking a little bit from our standpoint, but now we have to plan and visualize, how am I going to say this to them? What will really hit a nerve without disrespecting their situation?
Yeah. And it makes me think of the way that I like to think about it, if I am going that route where I have to have that conversation, is if I don't make it a big deal, it's not going to be a big deal. But if I make it a big deal, then they're going to freak out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, Lord, I'm going to have to tell you something. Whenever they're freaking out, there's, it's so funny how we would do that. But they don't realize that they're going to be losing more. And I coached in 2008. 2007, the market looked like it was coming down in 2005, 2006, right? We talked about the perfect storm 2008. Properties were dropping 20, 30% in a week, okay? And so once they see confidence in your eyes, if you're going to go, hey, Bob, I think we're going to have to drop the price a little bit because, they're going to look at you like, well, that's not confidence. It's kind of like what you just said. You have to have that confidence, and you've got to know what you know. Mm-hmm. If they feel that you're just trying to get a listing reduced without any facts, it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. So yeah, I totally agree. We're going to have, that's another skill set that we're going to have to get really good at, and look at the buyer side of it too. You've got to now get a buyer to agree to work with you.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Bill. I'm going to talk to this other agent. She said she's going to, I don't know what. So now you're selling your value proposition and making sure that when you have that meeting, it used to be a conversion of 80 or 90% when you're working with a buyer who didn't have to pay you any money, right? Now, you still want to have that high conversion rate. But I guarantee the conversion now on buyers signing with an agent is going to be a lot less.
Yeah, no. And I think, I feel like all of this that you're saying, it all ties together with the skills, with the questions that you ask, with the listening. Because one thing that comes to mind is if you listen correctly and if you are, having these conversations, you'll also be able to figure out if you can help that homeowner or not. So that when you do get to a point of, we need to adjust the price, everything just comes together nicely. And another thing, just to kind of go back to my example, it's also happened many times where I have had conversations, and because I did say it confidently, they just said, okay, well, we'll do what you said because you're the professional. And we're over here overthinking things like, oh my gosh, I was stressing out for nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Then they go, okay,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're absolutely right. I noticed that, and that, but Loida, that starts from day one when you first met them. You
Hmm.
can't. It's very difficult to pick that up later, right? So
Yeah.
now you're buddies, huggy kissy. We're gonna list. I love you. You love me, and then we're all buddies. And then when it comes down now to get that price reduction, it's gonna be much harder. You need to establish your authority in the beginning of the relationship, because I always tell my clients, you're the doctor and they're the patient. If it's reverses,
Hmm.
it's going to be much difficult to get that price down or to get them to do what they should be doing. And that's established on that first phone call, really, how you sound on
Exactly.
the first phone call. Because if you're just, hi, how are you? We're all friends. And then you're going to tell them to do something. Think about if your doctor did that. Hi, Loida, come on over. I want to check your throat. And then he goes, well, you shouldn't be drinking that. And you go, what's happening here? So we kind of not think about it that way. But if you think about how your doctor treats you and why you respect them, that's what's needed right now.
Exactly. Yeah, no, all of this is awesome. Everything that you're saying, Bill. Obviously, you have so much experience. You deal with this day to day. But tell us more about an event that you have coming up because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's
So
crucial
yeah,
for
I'm
agents
excited
to
about it.
know.
Yeah, it's coming up in Orlando. Been working on this for some time. I traveled the United States for years for another company doing the power prospecting workshop, and it was live calling. It was all kinds of things. But I've changed it up a little bit for the market today. And what we're going to be focusing on is how to effectively prospect now, how to effectively close, and how to present at a high level. So we're going to cover all those three things in 2 days. The prospecting, the words to use, the words not to use, how to use the preview approach to FISBOs, where you're going to get a 10, 20, 30% return. Which, if you know, hey, if I just go visit 10 for sale boners and I get two, if you want four, how many do you have to go to? You're going to see the for sale boners picking up. Expires are going to be picking up because the prices are going to be funny now. So October 1st and 2nd in Orlando. It's going to be at the LPT Realty headquarters. You can go to this website here that's under my face here and under my name, and you can sign up there. But it's free, free. So, and then they go, well, Bill's trying to sell me something. You know what I'm trying to sell? I'm selling you on you, selling you. And if you think, please, and this is me, I've been coaching for a long time, that you're going to enter in this new market that we're in with the same skills, you will not be able to get and reap the benefits of what's happening right now. And someone else will actually start to move into your
Mhm.
territory. And you don't want that to happen. So October 1st and 2nd, those are 2 full days, 9 to 4. It's free. You can travel down. It's a great place to travel, easy hotel prices. And we'll be in the headquarters there and studying presentation, conversion on calls, and how to prospect effectively over the phone and in person. Because I think door knocking. I had a client that's just killing it on door knocking too.
Awesome. So again, path2pro.net. If you guys are in the Orlando area or want to fly in, highly recommend for you to go and check out Bill. If you think that this session was good, I can only imagine everything that you're going to drop, Bill, in those 2 days.
Yeah,
So,
this is only on one cup of coffee.
oh my goodness. And before we wrap up, obviously right now you are still selling real estate. What does that look like for you in terms of maybe like your daily routine or the tools that you use? Can you share a little bit more?
Yeah, I was on a call today just to tell him that for as long as I've been in real estate, I've always had a schedule, and the schedule has to be tight. And you've got to, like really, really stay focused on that schedule. I know everybody's talked about it, but you have to call at the same time every day. You may not be successful, so you can call later, but making calls, having appointments with people that are not going to take 2 hours. I stand all day long. That's the way I was taught when I'm making a call. So having that schedule, starting at, I start typically at 9 o'clock, working out in the morning, coming in 9 to 12, making the calls from about 12 to 3. And this schedule has always been the same way. And I was taught this 12 to 3, admin time, 3 to 6, 3 to 7 on appointments. Like after I get done with you, I'm going to a FISBO that's been working, trying to get for the last 3 months. And you just have to stay focused, guys. I mean, this is a business of a lot of people with ADD, and they know it. And so, what they want to do is get you distracted. You've got bills to pay, you've got things that you want, goals and dreams, and investments you want to buy. The more that you stay focused on a task at the time that you're doing it, I guarantee you're going to be successful. And I have to do it. I mean, I don't try not to mix my hours up. I try to put people into my schedule. I try to avoid them trying to get me into their schedule, which is important.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, Bill, thank you so much for coming on here. I feel like we can keep on going on, and we might have to do multiple videos, talk about for sale by owners, expireds, and so much more.
Yeah.
So, again, for those of you that are watching, go to pathtopro.net, sign up for Bill's event. It's going to be amazing if you are serious about being a listing agent and
Yeah.
kicking butt with listings. So,
Uh,
Bill, one last
Perfect.
thing. What will you tell agents they need to do right now?
Well, right now, besides going to my event and maybe checking out my website, is to use Vulcan 7. I mean, look, we're at a Vulcan 7 event here, but this is the best return on your money. Okay. You've got numbers. You can go to the door if you're afraid of the DNC, which I totally understand. You can easily go to the door. Your competition is afraid of contacting people. And here's what's interesting: when you put more zeros at the end of the sale price, less people want to go there. And those are opportunities for you. I just closed on one last month, $1.3 million, and she had other people show up, but not a lot. And so it's there. Does it happen every day? No. But as long as you stay consistent, number one, make those calls, knock on those doors every day. You should be in one person's house that you've never met every day. That will help you get to where you want to go quicker.
Awesome. All right, Bill. Well, thank you so much once again for doing this. And for all of you, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Loida.
Bye.
Bye.